What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper Saturday video, and today we are continuing on our graveyard value kick with this spicy new brew from Stompy MTG himself. This is what he is calling Blue-Black Exhume. I'm sure we can come up with better names for it, but this is a brand new value deck that is utilizing, the simple stabilization power of things like Spell Pierce and Counterspell, along with Snuff Out, very similar to the Black-Blue Fae package. But to win the game, instead of relying on Monarch or things like that, this deck is using Tolarian Terrors, Striped Riverwinders, and Troll of Khazad-dûms with the Exhume package to cheat out a huge threat, either turn 2 or 3, usually turn 3. With Spell Pierce backup, something like that. It's also using a brand new card, Extract a Confession, from Murders at Karlov Manor. Now, this is a card that has largely flown under the radar, but with the powerhouse that is All That Glitters in Pauper, I do think this card has some merit and have been pretty impressed with it. Utilizing the really big CMC cards like Lorien Revealed, Troll of Khazad-dûm, you can collect the evidence of 6 CMC very, very quickly in this deck. And I like that power a lot. So take a screenshot. This is what the deck looks like. Out of the sideboard, we're running Hydroblast for red protection, a couple Dispels, a couple Annuls, 3 Unexpected Fangs, which are very, very powerful against the Glitters matchup primarily, as well as obviously Burn and Mono Red. A second Extract a Confession, which is just good against some of the other decks that are out there right now. And Arms of Hadar to keep some of the tokens and other wide decks like Elves in check. Fairy Macabres and a Suffocating Fumes. A little bit of a toolbox sideboard, still tinkering with it, not 100% happy with it. But this is the core of the deck. I would love your guys' thoughts on maybe some card inclusions. Really like the core, though. Augur of Bolas and the what's it called? The 0/3 that can become a 1/4 for 2. The Archaeologist is a bit of a toss-up. I think Augur blocks a little bit better right now. Its base stats are 1/3 instead of 1/4 or 0/3. So I think overall I like Augur because it's a little bit more consistent, but Archaeologist being able to mill your big dude into the graveyard and get an Exhume to your hand is definitely powerful, so it's certainly worth testing. But today I have a couple of fun feature matches for you guys today, so let's jump into game number 1. Alrighty, game number 1 is against Z Cove. This is a super interesting matchup. I believe this is against Glitters. And let's take a look here. We lose the die roll, so we are on the draw. But this is a very keepable hand. Unfortunately, it's not a basic swamp, so we can't turn to the Riverwinder, but this is kind of what the deck wants to do. So we're absolutely going to keep this, and let's get it rolling. Opponent leads on a Razortide Bridge, so reveals that they are on Glitters pretty immediately. We're going to just stay back to cycle this Striped Riverwinder. We take a hit from the Gingerbrute, which is a little bit annoying. We do have a Spell Pierce up, which is pretty nice if the opponent does go for the Glitters, but they're not going to, which is fine. We do take a hit from a Ninja. Opponent goes up to 4 cards, which is a little annoying. Now, admittedly, this was my mistake. I should have cycled for a basic island here, and we would absolutely have had the Spell Pierce up in case the opponent goes for the All That Glitters. They do end up going for the All That Glitters. We should have had Spell Pierce up here instead of cycling for a dual land, but unfortunately we just kind of take that hit. We do see an Extract a Confession, which is pretty perfect. We're going to be able to cast that with evidence to get rid of their All That Glitters, though. Once again, suffering a little bit because we have a tapped Bojuka Bog there instead of an island, which would give us Spell Pierce, but they have the 2 mana up to pay for it anyway, so unfortunately we're just going to have to sack our dude here. We go digging for a Snuff Out, Cast Down, something to kill this Thraben Inspector. We do finally hit a Snuff Out, but unfortunately, even if we do cast it for the 4 life, we're going to go to 1 and die to this Thraben Inspector. I do concede a little bit early here. I was a little bit frustrated that I didn't pull the correct land. We wouldn't actually be dead here. If we pay the 4 life to snuff out their Thraben Inspector and resolve this Augur of Bolas, we can block. Opponent has a lot of gas, but it wouldn't have been over. Ultimately, we just decide to go to sideboard, though, so let's go to the next game. Okay, so game number 2 against Z-Cove. We take out a couple Tolarian Terrors, a couple of Ponders, and a Lorien Revealed. We end up bringing in our Annuls and some of our life gain mechanics, such as Suffocating Fumes. We also bring in the second Extract a Confession, just in case they do land in early glitters. We have a good way to deal with it. This is an okay hand, but unfortunately I think it's going to be a little bit slow against the glitters matchup. So we are going to go ahead and keep it. And we're going to lead off on a Contaminated Aquifer. Opponent just straight up scoops. Not 100% sure why, because they don't disconnect or anything. We do proceed to a game 3 that is played. Not really sure what the opponent had here on 8 cards. In the moment, I thought maybe they had just mulliganed a whole bunch because I wasn't looking at game chat when they scooped immediately. But opponent does have 8 cards here, so not 100% sure what this scoop was from. But we very quickly go into game number 3. No changes to the sideboard. We are just going to run it. We are on the draw, though, so opponent might be just scooping through the on the draw game, which seems very strange, but, you know, you never know. Sometimes maybe it was the play. This is a pretty good hand. We have Troll, we have Exhume, we have a dual land. Unfortunately, we're not able to get an untapped island, but we can get our untapped Swamp here to get that nice turn 3 Exhume. We top deck another tap land, though, so we certainly can play this a little bit slower. We have the Spell Pierce, we have the Counter Spell, and now we have 2 blue lands, which is very nice. We do get a Lorien Revealed, so we're able to cycle for the untapped island if we need it to. Opponent just going Gingerbread Beatdown, which is fine. We go ahead and resolve this Exhume for this Troll. The Striped Riverwinder draw is certainly credible. We could have gone for it there, but we wouldn't have had the Spell Pierce up, and game 1 definitely showed us that we want these Spell Pierces to be maximum value. We see it right there. We do get a Spell Pierce on that All That Glitters. We go for an Unexpected Fangs on the Troll. Opponent has a Metallic Rebuke that he casts. Really surprised he let the Spell Pierce resolve on that All That Glitters. But we did have the Snuff Out backup anyway. Opponent goes for a second All That Glitters on the Ornithopter. We do have the Snuff Out there. And we cycle that Striped Riverwinder to find another Snuff Out. So now we have kind of all the answers, and we're just beating with a Troll. We're going to hit the opponent to 2 here. We are way ahead of this race. We certainly could have casted Lorien Revealed there, but then we wouldn't have had Counterspell up. And we really want to have Snuff Out plus Counterspell. Now, this is a crucial moment here. Opponent could have played it safe and just attacked with 1 Gingerbrute. We had certainly shown them Snuff Out already in this matchup. So they play it a little bit greedy. They try to kind of turn the tides of battle and just attack us for 2. Try to set up, I'm not 100% sure, maybe a lethal out to an All That Glitters, but All That Glitters was certainly lethal on just 1 Gingerbrute attack here too, so I think the smart play is just to hold 1 Gingerbrute back and get in for 1. Opponent does not do that. They leave themselves vulnerable to a Snuff Out. 2 cards in hand. Certainly they could have a Metallic Rebuke, but we will have a Snuff Out and Counterspell backup on it, so we're going to go ahead and snuff out the blocker here at end of turn. And that is the end of the match. Really exciting matchup against All That Glitters. Certainly is a race, but shows that this deck does have the speed and disruption package needed to keep up with one of the best decks in the format right now. So let's try something a little bit different for our next feature match. All right, feature match number 2 against Bruno Macabro. This is probably not a keepable hand. I would have loved for this to be a troll so we could get a dual land for this Exhume. But unfortunately, we can't guarantee a second land drop. And we are going to go ahead and mulligan it. This is another one-land hand, but we have double Brainstorm here, so we're guaranteed, well, almost guaranteed to get out of our one-land territory with double Brainstorm and a Riverwinder draw. So we are going to keep this one. And let's see what's happening. We throw back the Augur there. Not 100% sure about that choice, to be fair. Could have been good for Brainstorm shenanigans, but I thought we might need the Disruption package, even though the Snuff Out wasn't castable. A single Cycler, like a Lorien Revealed or a Troll, will let it be castable. Opponent, it looks like, is on Blue-Red Skred or Blue-Red Terror. Very good deck, especially right now. So this will certainly be an exciting matchup. We are able to kind of fish our way through to a Lorien Revealed. We get our dual lands. Now our Snuff Outs are online. We have a Counterspell. We have a Riverwinder. We have an Exhume. So we kind of have everything we need. And in this matchup specifically, if we can get a Riverwinder on board, we're almost never losing that game. We go for the Exhume. They do have Counterspell, not Spell Pierce, which is crucial because we have the Spell Pierce. So we land a Riverwinder, which is huge in this matchup. They have no way to deal with this except just to block it. So we are going to start to chunk them. They go for the Crimson Fleet Commodore. Now, this is a really interesting point because I did consider allowing the Crimson Fleet Commodore to resolve to start the Monarch and then play into Snuff Out to kill the Crimson Fleet Commodore and take the Monarch here. The problem is that kind of gasses me out. It would have allowed me to cycle this Striped Riverwinder to Exhume and have a second Riverwinder as backup. That is kind of the plan here, but it would have been really interesting to see what the Monarch would have allowed us to do if we'd have taken it. That is something that certainly I could have considered a little bit more. We do end up starting the Monarch anyway, which is really dumb. If I'd have considered it a little bit more, I would have realized that my play pattern was for Exhume next turn anyway. I would have just let the Crimson Fleet Commodore resolve. Then I would have exhumed the Riverwinder and then killed the Crimson Fleet Commodore. And I would have ended up with one more kill spell. So a little bit of a misplay there. Fortunately, it's not really going to bite me because we top decked the extra removal spells. So we're still going to have gas in the tank. We're just going to go ahead and hit for 5 with a blocker and take the Monarch. We hit another Snuff Out, so we have all the removal in the world. We draw a Counterspell, which is perfect. So now we have even the protection. If they could have done anything about the Striped Riverwinders, now they can't. They go ahead and Lightning Bolt themselves, so we take the we let the opponent have the honorable victory here, the moral victory, and we're gonna go ahead into game number 2. All right, game number 2 here. This is certainly a good hand. Double Exhume, 2-land, Unexpected Fangs. We just need to find a Cycler to kind of kick things off. Looking at our sideboard, we could have brought in Hydroblasts here. We chose not to. Ultimately, we decided that this was going to be a counter-intense matchup, not necessarily a burn-intense matchup. We did bring in the Unexpected Fangs once again. This was primarily just to get our 5/5s out of range of trading with their Crimson Fleet Commodores. I feel like that's the primary tool they're going to have to remove our hexproof 5/5s or our Tolarian Terrors, so putting them out of range of an easy trade is definitely in our best interest. So we brought in the Unexpected Fangs. We took out one Extracted Confession. We took out a single Ponder and the one of Cast Down out of the main. Ultimately, we just ended up keeping the 4 Snuff Outs as they're all going to be live in this matchup. And we're going to go ahead and run it. Opponent just land passes. We're going to play this game a little bit slower, but we did top deck the Troll, which is exactly what we wanted. Opponent goes for the tap land here. We love that. So we are going to immediately go for the Exhume to just kind of skill check the Spell Pierce. They do have it, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I think we just kind of had to go for it there. If we stick a Troll with an Unexpected Fangs, we're going to be miles ahead in this game. We didn't have a Spell Pierce or anything that we could play for to take it 1 turn slower. We go for the Augur of Bolas. That gets us a Lorien revealed, so we can guarantee our land drops or maybe a big hit if this game goes really, really long. Opponent just taps out for a Murmuring Mystic, so that changes the game plan to just 100% dig for an answer. We miss Snuff Out both times, which is pretty harsh. So we are going to let the opponent untap with a Murmuring Mystic, which never feels good. But unfortunately, they just kind of have one thing and then let it hit. So we don't get super punished by the Murmuring Mystic. Opponent is on 3 cards. They're a little bit low. We go for the Exhume to bait the counterspell. They did have it, but then we get to sneak this Snuff Out through. Fortunately, we were able to deal with that Murmuring Mystic quite quickly, which is nice. Opponent then goes for the Crimson Fleet Commodore, starting the Monarch, which is a little unfortunate. They attack with both birds, which seems super questionable to me, because if they hold the birds back, I don't get the Monarch, and this way I do. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a trade, the Monarch situation. My play here was we just go for the Tolarian Terror, and while they're not untapped for a counterspell, we resolve an Unexpected Fangs on this Terror, just to really cement the late game. It's going to cost them a lot to deal with this. They would have to have an untapped land and 2 Lightning Bolts. Or like a land plus Scred and basically tap out to kill the Tolarian Terror. We have the Spell Pierce, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, Scred would have done it, but double Lightning Bolt won't. The opponent just scoops it up, not willing to play the long game against us here after losing their Murmuring Mystic. They're down to 3 cards. They're just not in a place where they have enough gas to deal with this 6/6. So we take that game. Ultimately, guys, this deck has proven to be very powerful over this week of testing. I actually liked it so much that I built it in paper to play at one of my locals, so I will absolutely be playing this deck in the near future. Got my River Winders, so I will absolutely be playing this deck in paper. It's a lot of fun to pilot, and it seems like it's fast enough to deal with the really fast decks of the format, and it's interactive enough to deal with a lot of the control or mid-range decks of the format. Overall, guys, I really hope you enjoy this deck. If you have more cool decks that I should check out, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do the YouTube stuff to boost the video if you enjoyed it. And as usual, guys, goodbye forever, unless I see you next time.